Before we dive into a world of mistaken identities, dangerous obsessions, and a love that blossoms in the most unlikely of places, make sure to hit that subscribe button. You won't want to miss a single twist and turn in this epic tale. He kidnapped the wrong girl, now the Mafia boss refuses to let her go. Chapter 1: The Night That Stole Her Freedom, a Life Unraveled. The vibrant, chaotic energy of New York City pulsed relentlessly around Isabella Rossi. A deafening symphony of blaring honks from yellow cabs, the distant, mournful wail of sirens echoing off towering glass facades, and the muffled, incessant roar of countless, indistinguishable conversations swirling through the concrete canyons. For Isabella, a budding architect on the cusp of truly making her mark, a woman with a meticulous eye for detail, an unwavering passion for urban design, and a fiercely independent spirit that refused to be confined. It was the only home she had ever truly known, a sprawling, merciless concrete jungle that simultaneously fueled her dreams and tested her resilience. Tonight, however, the familiar sounds of her beloved city felt unusually menacing. Each distant clang of a construction crane and every shouted exchange contributing to a growing, icy knot of unease twisting in the pit of her stomach. She clutched her battered, oversized portfolio tighter, its worn leather a comforting anchor. Hurrying through the labyrinthine, dimly lit alleyways of Tribeca, a shortcut she usually took without a second thought, confident in her street smarts and the city's unwritten rules. The late-night meeting with a notoriously demanding client, a high-stakes pitch for a sprawling residential complex overlooking the Hudson, had run excruciatingly long, pushing her commute far past a comfortable, safe hour. To add to her growing frustration, her phone, a crucial lifeline in this sprawling, often isolating metropolis, had annoyingly died just blocks from her apartment building, leaving her utterly isolated, vulnerable, and enveloped in a disconcerting silence. The alley, a narrow, forgotten crevice between two towering brick warehouses, reeked overpoweringly of stale garbage, damp concrete, and something undeniably metallic. A pungent, sickening smell that pricked at her nose and sent a shiver of primal warning down her spine. A sudden, terrifying flash of movement caught her peripheral vision, a hulking, shadowy figure emerging from the deeper, inky blackness, moving with an alarming swiftness, a predatory grace that seemed to defy the darkness. Before Isabella could even fully register the threat, before a desperate scream could even form fully coherent in her constricted throat, a heavy, calloused hand clamped roughly over her mouth, stifling any sound. Simultaneously, a coarse, chemical-laced cloth was pressed firmly against her nose and mouth, its sickly sweet, cloying scent immediately overpowering her senses, assaulting her very being. Isabella struggled, her adrenaline surging through her veins like wildfire, fighting with every ounce of her strength, kicking wildly, biting desperately, twisting her body in a frantic attempt to break free, but her efforts were futile, tragically impotent against the sheer power of her assailant. The world began to spin, violently, colors blurring into an indistinct, swirling haze of gray and black, the vibrant sounds of the city fading rapidly into a dull, distant roar like a receding tide. Her limbs grew heavy, unresponsive, betraying her desperate will. Darkness, cold and absolute, enveloped her, stealing her freedom, her consciousness, and with it, all sense of who she was, where she belonged, and whether she would ever see the light again. She awoke to a profound, unsettling quiet, a silence so complete it felt unnatural, suffocating, pressing in on her from all sides. The air was cool, almost sterile, smelling faintly of old, expensive wood, polished leather, and something vaguely antiseptic, a clinical cleanliness that felt utterly out of place. Her head throbbed, a dull, insistent ache behind her eyes, resonating with every beat of her frantic heart, and her mouth felt dry, metallic, a taste like old pennies. Panic, cold and sharp, immediately seized her as her eyes fluttered open, struggling to adjust to the dim, ambient light. She was in a room, a large one, yet sparsely, almost starkly furnished. Heavy, dark velvet curtains, impossibly thick, completely obscured the windows, allowing no hint of the outside world, no glimpse of light or civilization. The walls were paneled in rich, dark mahogany, polished to a mirror sheen, and a single, ornate chandelier, crafted from darkened bronze and delicate crystals, hung from the high, vaulted ceiling, casting a soft, almost ethereal glow that did little to dispel the oppressive atmosphere. She was lying on a plush, velvet-covered chaise lounge, its fabric luxurious against her skin. Her hands bound loosely at her wrists with a soft, yet undeniably strong, silk cord, a golden hue against her pale skin. Her portfolio, her lifeline, her identity was nowhere in sight. A sudden, sharp click of a door latch, amplified in the profound silence, made her jump. Her heart leaping into her throat, a frantic bird desperate to escape. A figure emerged from the deeper shadows of the doorway, tall, impeccably dressed in a custom-tailored dark suit that seemed to flow effortlessly around his powerful, muscular frame. He moved with an effortless grace, a dangerous predator in his natural habitat. Every movement economical and purposeful, his presence radiating an aura of quiet, unyielding authority, an unspoken power that filled the room, dominating every inch of space. He was devastatingly handsome with sharp, chiseled features, dark, raven hair swept back from a high, intelligent forehead, and eyes the color of molten gold that seemed to strip away her defenses, analyzing her with an unnerving, almost predatory intensity, seeing into her very soul. He didn't speak immediately, simply surveyed her, his gaze cold, calculating, and utterly devoid of warmth, like a sculptor assessing a new block of marble. Isabella instinctively shrunk back, trying to disappear into the chaise lounge, her fear a primal, visceral scream in her mind, a raw, animalistic terror. This was not a random mugging, this was something far more terrifying, far more sinister, far more meticulously planned. This was deliberate. "So, you're finally awake," he stated, his voice a low, resonant rumble that seemed to vibrate through the very air, deep and authoritative, yet oddly calm. It wasn't a question, but a cold, hard observation, a statement of fact. He walked slowly towards her, each step deliberate, unhurried, menacing. The soft click of his expensive shoes echoing in the silence. "I trust your journey was comfortable? My men are usually quite efficient." Isabella swallowed hard, her throat raw and aching, a testament to her struggle. Who are you? Where am I? What do you want?" Her voice was hoarse, trembling, a pathetic tremor she couldn't control, barely recognizable as her own. She struggled against the silk bonds, twisting her wrists desperately, but they held firm, mocking her futile efforts, an elegant symbol of her captivity. He stopped directly in front of her, casting a long shadow, his golden eyes burning into hers. Unwavering, merciless, piercing. "My name is Alessio Volkov," he stated, his voice flat, devoid of emotion, yet carrying an undeniable weight, a gravitas that spoke of immense, terrifying power, of an empire unseen but felt. "And you, miss, you are currently a guest in my home. A very unexpected guest." He paused, a faint, almost imperceptible smirk touched his lips. A chilling curve that sent a fresh wave of dread through her, an icy tendril coiling in her gut. "As for what I want," his gaze intensified, probing. "That, my dear, is a complicated question. But let's start with your name. I believe you are Sofia Moretti, are you not? Daughter of Adrian Moretti, the woman I intended to bring here to settle a very old score." Isabella's breath hitched in her throat, a choked gasp of pure, unadulterated shock. "No," she blurted out, her voice rising in a desperate, panicked crescendo, tears pricking at her eyes. "My name is Isabella Rossi. You have the wrong person. I'm an architect, a civilian. I have nothing to do with whatever this is. With anyone named Moretti." Alessio's eyes narrowed, a flicker of something unreadable, a hint of genuine surprise, perhaps even confusion in their depths. He reached into his inner jacket pocket and pulled out a photograph, a grainy, slightly faded image of a woman with long, dark hair strikingly similar to Isabella's own, yet clearly not her. The woman in the photo had a harder edge to her features, a colder, more calculating gaze, and a subtle, distinctive scar above her left eyebrow that Isabella lacked. "This is Sofia Moretti," he stated, his voice now laced with a dangerous undertone. A hint of suspicion, a sudden shift in his demeanor. "Daughter of Adrian Moretti, the woman my men were specifically instructed to bring here." Isabella stared at the photograph, then back at Alessio, a horrifying, crushing realization dawning on her with sickening clarity. Mistaken identity. He had kidnapped the wrong girl. He had intended to abduct a woman from a rival family, a woman named Sofia Moretti. A pawn in some deadly underworld game, and by some cruel, inexplicable twist of fate, she, Isabella Rossi, had been in the wrong place at the wrong time. looking enough like the intended target to fall prey to his efficient, brutal men. I told you, I'm Isabella Rossi, she pleaded, fresh tears streaming down her face. Hot and stinging, her desperation mounting with every passing second. I have no connection to anyone named Moretti. I don't know them. You made a terrible mistake. Let me go, please. I won't tell anyone, I swear. Just let me go home. Alessio simply studied her, his gaze now a complex mixture of cold calculation and a strange, almost unsettling curiosity, a deeper interest that replaced his initial suspicion. He scrutinized her face, her trembling hands, the genuine, unadulterated terror in her eyes. The raw, emotional plea. He compared her once more to the photograph, then back to her. The resemblance was indeed uncanny, enough to fool even his most trusted men in the dim, chaotic light of a New York alley. But the raw, unadulterated fear, the desperate plea of an innocent woman caught in a nightmare, was undeniably real, impossible to fake. He took a slow step back, his expression still unreadable. Yet a profound shift had occurred in the atmosphere. A subtle but palpable change that sent a fresh shiver down Isabella's spine. He knew she spoke the truth. He had indeed kidnapped the wrong girl. A dangerous, potentially catastrophic mistake in his world. One that could complicate his intricate plans. But instead of releasing her, instead of rectifying his error, instead of apologizing, a new, unsettling gleam entered his golden eyes. It wasn't anger or frustration, but something far more potent, far more possessive, far more dangerous. A dangerous idea born of calculated opportunity and a sudden, undeniable, almost magnetic intrigue, had taken root deep within his ruthless mind. Isabella Rossi, an architect, he murmured, the name rolling off his tongue, testing it, savoring it, making it sound like a beautiful, forbidden word. He paused, a faint, almost imperceptible smile touching his lips, a chilling promise. A silent declaration. Well, Miss Rossi, it seems fate has intervened in a most unexpected way. You may not be the woman I intended to take. But now that you are here, I don't think I can let you go. His gaze burned into hers, absolute and unwavering, sealing her fate. You are mine now, Isabella. A beautiful mistake, perhaps. But a mistake I intend to keep, to cherish, to control. The night that stole her freedom had unexpectedly opened the door to a terrifying, intoxicating new reality. Binding her to a man who refused to rectify his error, a mafia boss who had, with terrifying certainty, claimed her as his own. Her old life was gone, replaced by a gilded, perilous future she never asked for. Chapter 2: The Golden Cage of Alessio Volkov and the Architects of Desire. The words hung heavy in the opulent air of Alessio Volkov's private study. A declaration of unyielding ownership that stole Isabella's breath and shattered the last vestiges of her world. You are mine now. I don't think I can let you go. The chilling finality of Alessio Volkov's voice, the unyielding intensity of his golden eyes, piercing and absolute, left no room for doubt, no possibility of defiance, no hope for escape. She had been kidnapped, a horrifying ordeal, and now, despite the glaring, undeniable mistake, she was being claimed, possessed, absorbed into his dangerous reality. The initial shock of mistaken identity had quickly morphed into a terrifying, inescapable, and profoundly personal captivity. Panic, cold and visceral, consumed her, threatening to overwhelm her senses. Isabella struggled against the soft silk bonds on her wrists, twisting and pulling. A futile effort that only chafed her delicate skin, leaving red marks. You can't do this, she cried, her voice raw and hoarse with desperation, cracking with emotion. I'm not part of your world, Mr. Volkov. I'm a law-abiding citizen. I have a life, a career as an architect, friends, family. They'll come looking for me. They'll miss me. Alessio merely observed her frantic struggle, his expression unreadable. A silent testament to his absolute control, his unshakable calm. He reached out, his long, elegant fingers moving with deliberate slowness, gently untying the silk cords that bound her wrists. The gesture, though seemingly freeing, felt more like a prelude to a new, more profound form of captivity, a subtle tightening of invisible chains. Isabella immediately scrambled away, trying to create distance between them, putting a heavy antique table between herself and him, but he simply watched her unhurried, knowing she had nowhere to go, nowhere to hide within his fortress. Your friends, Miss Rossi, will be informed that you've taken an unexpected. extended sabbatical to pursue a prestigious overseas architectural project, he stated. His voice calm, dangerously authoritative, devoid of any hint of regret or hesitation. Your apartment will be discreetly cleared, your affairs managed by professionals. No one will come looking for you where they cannot find you. As for your life, it has taken an unexpected, perhaps inconvenient, detour. You are safe here, utterly protected. Think of this as a necessary, if unconventional, transition. He gestured expansively around the luxurious room. A grand library filled with towering shelves of leather-bound books, ancient maps, and antique furniture exuding old-world charm. This is your temporary residence within my home. You will have every comfort, every luxury you could desire. But you will not leave these grounds. And you will not attempt to communicate with the outside world. Is that understood? My rules are absolute. Isabella stared at him, fresh tears streaming down her face, hot and stinging. The bitter reality of her situation crushing her spirit, her dreams. He had already orchestrated her disappearance, meticulously erasing her old life with chilling efficiency. She was truly alone, isolated, at the mercy of this powerful, terrifying man. A prisoner in a golden cage. Why, she whispered, the single word, a desperate, broken plea for understanding. For some logical explanation for this madness. Why me? Why keep me? I'm useless to you. Alessio's gaze was unsettlingly intense. A flicker of something she couldn't quite decipher in his golden eyes. A complex mixture of calculated interest, unexpected intrigue, and a burgeoning, dangerous possessiveness. Sophia Moretti, the woman my men intended to bring, is a pawn in a larger power struggle. A calculated piece in a brutal game of revenge and territorial dominance. You, Isabella Rossi, are something entirely different. An unknown variable. An unexpected prize. You are beautiful, intelligent, and fiercely spirited. You are a challenge. And now, you are mine. I protect what is mine with every resource at my command. He paused, a faint, predatory smile touching his lips, a chilling promise. Perhaps fate intervened for a reason, Miss Rossi. Perhaps I needed a different kind of challenge, a different kind of partner, a different kind of queen. Her new reality was indeed a gilded cage, breathtaking in its opulence, yet utterly suffocating in its confinement. Alessio Volkov's sprawling estate, hidden somewhere deep in the remote, sprawling hills outside the city, nestled within acres of ancient woods, was a veritable fortress disguised as a palatial mansion. Its grounds were meticulously maintained, pristine and beautiful, yet guarded by an army of silent, watchful men, their presence subtle but constant. Her suite was lavish beyond imagination, decorated with exquisite taste, filled with luxuries she could only have dreamed of, a grand four-poster bed draped in rich silks, a private sitting area with velvet upholstered chairs, a vast walk-in closet filled with designer clothes that were clearly not her size, but undeniably expensive, chosen by a personal shopper. She was waited on hand and foot by a retinue of discreet, efficient staff, provided with every comfort, every book, every artistic supply she desired. But the profound lack of freedom, the constant presence of silent, watchful guards, the absolute, undeniable knowledge that she was a prisoner turned every luxury into a cruel, mocking reminder of her captivity. In the initial weeks, Isabella rebelled with a desperate ferocity. She tried to escape, attempting to scale garden walls, to bribe guards, a foolish, futile attempt, to sneak out through service entrances, to send desperate signals to the outside world. Each attempt was met with calm, unwavering efficiency. She was always gently but firmly apprehended and returned to her suite, her efforts proving useless. Alessio, surprisingly, never punished her physically for these attempts. Instead, he would appear in her suite, his expression unreadable, his voice calm, yet infused with an ironclad authority that brooked no defiance. Your efforts are admirable, Isabella, he would say, his golden eyes observing her with an unsettling intensity. Your spirit, your determination, they are commendable, but ultimately futile. You cannot escape. This is your home now. Accept it. He spent hours observing her, watching her sketch in the expansive gardens, reading her architectural journals, listening to her play the piano in the grand ballroom. Always silent, always present. He would engage her in deep, stimulating conversations about art, history, urban planning, economic theory. displaying an unexpected depth of knowledge and a genuine interest in her passions, her intellectual pursuits. He was undeniably charming, intellectually stimulating, and dangerously charismatic. He slowly began to break down her defenses, not with force, but with a subtle, insidious blend of intellectual engagement, unexpected kindness, and absolute, inescapable control. He was conquering her mind, not just her body. Isabella found herself in a terrifying paradox. She hated him for taking her freedom, for destroying her old life, for his ruthless manipulation. Yet, she couldn't deny the strange, undeniable pull she felt towards him. The magnetic allure of his power, his intellect, his unwavering focus, his sheer force of will. He saw her, truly saw her, not as a helpless victim but as a formidable woman, a worthy opponent. An unexpected, precious prize. He challenged her, provoked her, and slowly, subtly, began to dismantle her lingering prejudices, forcing her to see the world and him through a more complex, nuanced, and terrifyingly captivating lens. He was awakening a sleeping dragon within her. One evening, after weeks of this intricate psychological dance, Alessio found her in the Grand Library, sketching intricate designs for an imaginary, utopian city. A testament to her unyielding creative spirit, her boundless imagination. He approached silently, his presence suddenly filling the room, watching her for a long moment before speaking. "Your work is truly remarkable, Isabella. A vision, a masterpiece waiting to be built." Isabella looked up, her heart hammering against her ribs, her gaze locking with his. The defiance was still there, a flicker in her eyes, a spark of the old Isabella. But it was now irrevocably mingled with a growing, unsettling fascination, a grudging respect. "It's all I have left, Alessio. My mind, my creativity. You can take my freedom, but you can't take that. You can't chain my imagination." A faint smile, a genuine, almost tender expression, touched his lips, softening the hard lines of his face, making him appear almost human. "No, Isabella. I wouldn't dream of it. In fact, I intend to nurture it. To give you a canvas far grander than any you could have imagined. This empire, this city, it is yours to shape, if you choose. Yours to mold." He reached out, his hand gently cupping her chin, his thumb stroking her cheek with a feather-light touch. The touch was electric, sending a jolt through her, a warmth spreading through her veins. "You are not just a prisoner, Isabella. You are my unexpected queen, and I intend for you to rule by my side, to build with me, to reign over this new world we are forging." His golden eyes burned into hers, a silent, powerful declaration that sealed her fate, binding her not just with chains of silk, but with a golden chain of unwavering possession and a burgeoning, dangerous affection that was becoming terrifyingly real. The golden cage had transformed into her gilded throne, and Isabella, the kidnapped architect, was now the unwilling, yet undeniably captivated, empress of the Mafia boss, slowly, inevitably, falling under his powerful, intoxicating spell. Chapter 3: An unlikely partnership begins to flourish. The audacious declaration resonated deep within Isabella's very core, stirring a tumultuous, unsettling mix of fear, anger, and a bewildering, undeniable intrigue that pulled her in opposing directions. "My unexpected queen, I intend for you to rule by my side." Alessio Volkov's words were a heavy, unseen weight, a crown of both immense power and inescapable captivity placed firmly upon her head. She was still his prisoner, undeniably so, the reality of her stolen freedom a constant, nagging ache, but the fundamental nature of her imprisonment had subtly, yet profoundly, shifted. She was no longer just a trophy to be displayed, a prize to be guarded. She was a mind to be engaged, a spirit to be nurtured, a partner to be forged in the crucible of his dangerous world. In the intense, demanding days that followed, Alessio began to integrate her into his world with a meticulous, almost surgical precision. Not as a captive to be controlled, but as a valued consultant to be utilized. He brought her vast blueprints for new developments, complex urban planning proposals for entire districts, and sprawling revitalization projects across the dynamic cityscape of Chicago. He sought her expertise, her unparalleled architectural vision, her keen eye for aesthetics, functionality, and the intricate dance of urban spaces. He listened intently to her suggestions, challenged her ideas with intelligent, probing questions that forced her to think deeper, and genuinely valued her unique perspective. recognizing its transformative potential. Isabella, initially wary, resistant, and deeply resentful, found herself utterly unable to resist the profound intellectual stimulation. The sheer scale of the projects, her passion for architecture, once stifled by mundane corporate projects and endless bureaucratic red tape, reignited with an incandescent intensity burning brighter than ever before. Alessio's projects were on an unprecedented scale, offering a canvas far grander, far more ambitious than any she had ever dared to dream of. A chance to truly leave her mark on a city. She began to immerse herself in the work, poring over designs, meticulously planning urban landscapes, envisioning entire districts rising under her conceptual influence. She found a strange, undeniable satisfaction in seeing her ideas, her meticulously crafted designs, brought to life with Alessio's seemingly limitless resources and unyielding will, transforming mere sketches into concrete realities. Their professional collaboration, fueled by shared ambition and intellectual respect, often spilled seamlessly over into their personal interactions. They would spend hours in his study, a sanctuary filled with architectural models, urban plans, and ancient texts, discussing everything from the intricacies of city infrastructure to the philosophy of classical art, from complex economic theories to the brutal philosophy of power that governed his world. Isabella found Alessio to be incredibly intelligent, surprisingly well-read, and possessing a ruthless yet pragmatic understanding of human nature that was both chilling and profoundly captivating. He provoked her, challenged her intellect, and slowly, subtly, began to dismantle her lingering prejudices, forcing her to see the world and him through a more complex, nuanced, and ultimately, more terrifyingly real lens. She still harbored a deep, simmering resentment for her captivity, the brutal, unconscionable way her freedom had been stolen, the life she had lost. But a grudging, undeniable respect for Alessio began to take root in her heart, growing alongside the resentment. He was a man of immense power, undeniably dangerous, capable of brutal acts. But he was also a visionary, building a new kind of empire, one that transcended mere illicit gains. One that sought to leave a lasting, indelible mark on the city, on its very future. And in her, he had found a partner capable of shaping that vision, of translating his raw ambition into tangible, awe-inspiring structures that would stand for generations. However, the dark, perilous underbelly of his world was never truly far away, a constant, ominous shadow. Isabella occasionally witnessed unsettling glimpses of Alessio's ruthless side, the cold, decisive orders issued in hushed, authoritative tones to grim-faced men, the sudden, unexplained disappearance of a disloyal associate, the veiled threats and chilling promises that ensured unwavering compliance and instilled absolute fear. These moments served as stark, brutal reminders of the immense, deadly power he wielded, and the permanent, unforgiving consequences of crossing him, of daring to defy his will. She understood that her position, however gilded, however respected, was still irrevocably within the confines of his dangerous, unforgiving empire, and that her safety was contingent on his continued protection. One evening, as she presented a particularly ambitious design for a sprawling waterfront development, showcasing sleek, modern residential towers, expansive public parks, and a vibrant, state-of-the-art cultural center, Alessio listened intently, a thoughtful, almost contemplative expression on his powerful face. When she finished, the vast room was silent, filled only with the hum of the city outside. "A masterpiece, Isabella," he finally said, his voice low, filled with genuine, profound admiration, his eyes reflecting the brilliance of her designs. "It will transform that entire district, redefine the city's skyline. It is a legacy waiting to be built, a testament to your genius." He walked over to her, his gaze unwavering, intense. "And it will bear your indelible mark. It will be built exactly as you designed it, without compromise." He paused, his golden eyes burning into hers, a silent, powerful challenge. But with every masterpiece, Isabella, comes immense responsibility, and sometimes profound danger. This world, it can be brutal to those who build, to those who create beauty, to those who dare to dream. You will need to understand its complexities, its unspoken rules, its brutal truths. If you are to build, you must also be ready to defend. Isabella met his gaze directly, a flicker of defiance still in her eyes. A spark of her independent spirit, but now irrevocably mingled with a growing sense of partnership. A deepening connection. Then teach me, Alessio. Teach me your rules. Teach me how to protect what I build, what we build. Teach me how to survive in your world, how to defend this empire. I am ready to learn. A slow, dangerous smile spread across Alessio's lips, a subtle curve that sent a thrill. A complex mixture of fear and exhilaration through her, resonating deep within her. A dangerous request, Isabella. But one I am more than willing to grant. One I welcome. He reached out, his hand gently cupping her chin, his thumb stroking her cheek. A touch that was both tender and fiercely possessive. You are no longer just an architect, Isabella. You are an architect of power, an architect of empire. My empire. And together, we will build something truly extraordinary. Something unassailable. Something untouchable. And something that will be ours, completely. His lips descended upon hers, a fierce, hungry, demanding kiss of raw possession. Of unyielding power, and of a burgeoning passion that transcended the confines of her captivity. That obliterated the lingering resentment. It was a kiss that sealed their unlikely, dangerous partnership, cementing her place by his side. Not just as a prisoner, but as a queen, an essential component of his dangerous, magnificent world. Isabella, the kidnapped architect, was slowly, irrevocably, becoming the willing participant in a destiny she never chose, but one that was now undeniably hers. The golden cage had transformed into a command center, a strategic hub, and she, once the wrong girl, was now precisely where Alessio Volkov wanted her to be, shaping an empire and slowly, profoundly falling under the intoxicating, dangerous spell of the Mafia boss who refused to let her go, whose fierce protection had become her unexpected comfort. Chapter 4: The Threat from Without and the Strengthening Bond Within. The visible, undeniable integration of Isabella into Alessio's formidable world, particularly her pivotal, celebrated role in legitimizing and expanding Volkov Industries, sent profound ripples through the complex, shadowy ecosystem of the underworld, causing a tumultuous mixture of envy, deep apprehension, and a grudging, almost forced respect. Her architectural brilliance, her visionary designs, and her keen business acumen were undeniable, transforming vast swathes of Chicago's skyline and injecting unprecedented prosperity into the areas Alessio controlled. She became a highly visible, publicly celebrated figure in legitimate business and social circles, lauded as a creative genius, a testament to Alessio's seemingly refined taste, and a powerful asset in projecting an image of corporate legitimacy that masked his true power base. Their partnership, once an arrangement brutally forced upon her, had evolved into a complex, profound, and profoundly symbiotic relationship. Isabella, though still acutely aware of the brutal reality of her stolen freedom, found immense, exhilarating purpose in her work, a creative outlet on an unprecedented scale, a chance to truly leave her mark. She brought not just groundbreaking designs but meticulous financial planning, intricate logistical solutions, and a deep, intuitive understanding of urban development to Alessio's operations, elevating them to new heights. He, in turn, provided seemingly unlimited resources, unwavering, absolute protection, and an intellectual challenge that consistently pushed her boundaries, forcing her to grow, to adapt, to become more. The initial, bitter resentment she harbored began to slowly, subtly, intertwine with a burgeoning respect, a profound admiration, and a terrifying, undeniable attraction that pulsed beneath the surface, a dangerous, intoxicating current. However, the very visibility and unparalleled success of Isabella's projects, her increasingly prominent role by Alessio's side, also rendered her a conspicuous target. The underworld, still steeped in old, brutal traditions and fierce blood loyalties, viewed her as an outsider, an anomaly, a profound vulnerability, and a potent symbol of Alessio's controversial, modern shift towards legitimate business, a departure from the old ways they cherished. The undeniable fact that she was Isabella Rossi, an innocent caught in the crossfire, rather than Sofia Moretti, the intended target, did not matter to those who sought to undermine Alessio's dominance. They saw only the brilliant woman who held Alessio's unwavering attention, the formidable mind that shaped his empire, and thus a critical weakness to exploit, a lever to pry him from his throne. The first direct threat emerged not from a rival family seeking territory or a business dispute, but from a shadowy consortium of disgruntled elements, remnants of families Alessio had utterly crushed, disenfranchised members of the old guard and old-school traditionalists who saw his modern methods as a profound affront to their time-honored way of life, a corruption of their heritage. They dubbed themselves the Purists, a chilling moniker reflecting their desire to restore the brutal, old order, to bring down the legitimate facade of Volkov Industries and drag Alessio back into the brutal, open warfare of the past, a war they believed they could win on their terms. Their chosen method of attack was insidious, simple, yet terrifyingly effective, targeting Isabella, the embodiment of his new world. The first incident was subtle, almost deniable, a near-miss traffic accident. A meticulously planned coincidence involving a rogue truck that almost left her seriously injured, her sleek armored car swerving violently at the last second. Then, a bomb threat was called into one of her newly completed, highly publicized architectural sites, forcing an immediate, chaotic evacuation and causing millions in delays, striking at her professional pride. Finally, a chilling package arrived at her personal, secure office within the Volkov Industries building, a single, blood-red rose, its pristine petals stained with what appeared to be dried crimson blood, and a note written in crude, block letters. Its message stark and menacing: the architect builds, the purist destroys. You are the flaw in Volkov's design, the weakest link. Fear, cold and sharp as a surgeon's scalpel, pierced Isabella's heart. A chilling reminder of the world she now inhabited, a world that hunted her. This wasn't just about business or power games, this was personal, deeply, terrifyingly personal. They were targeting her specifically, deliberately, to get to Alessio, to wound him through her. She immediately showed the rose and the note to Alessio, her hands trembling uncontrollably, her face pale with dread. Alessio's face, usually so composed, so stoic, hardened into a mask of terrifying fury, his golden eyes blazing with an inferno of pure, unadulterated rage that consumed him. He crushed the blood-stained rose in his powerful fist, its petals falling like crimson tears onto his polished desk, a symbol of their broken peace. The purists, he growled, his voice low, vibrating with suppressed, barely contained violence. Fools, arrogant, deluded fools. They believe they can break me by touching what is mine. They believe they can find weakness where there is only strength. He pulled her into a fierce, almost desperate embrace, holding her tight against his powerful chest, his strength a comforting, yet terrifying, anchor against the storm. They have made a grave, unforgivable mistake, Isabella. They have touched my weakness, and they will pay a price beyond anything they can possibly imagine. They will pay with their lives, their legacies, their very existence. In the intense, terrifying days that followed, Alessio's response was swift, brutal, and absolute. He unleashed his vast network, his most loyal and ruthless men, to hunt down the purists with an almost primal ferocity. He didn't just dismantle their operations, he systematically annihilated them, leaving no trace, no possibility of resurgence, no opportunity for future revenge. He leveraged his legitimate influence to expose their illicit activities to federal authorities, ensuring long, agonizing prison sentences, and his underworld contacts to ensure a far more permanent, chilling silence. The message was clear, chilling, and undeniable: anyone who dared threaten Isabella, anyone who dared touch what was his, would face unimaginable, absolute consequences. Isabella, a horrified yet profoundly protected witness to the ruthless efficiency of Alessio's retaliation, felt a complex mix of emotions swirl within her. She recoiled from the brutality, the bloodshed, the utter finality of his actions, the casual way lives were extinguished. Yet, she couldn't deny the profound, encompassing sense of safety, of unassailable protection, that his rage afforded her. He had defended her with every fiber of his being, with every resource at his command, demonstrating a loyalty that transcended morality. He saw her as an extension of himself, an indispensable part of his world. A woman he would protect at all costs, no matter the price, no matter the blood spilled. Their bond, forged in the crucible of this shared danger, deepened irrevocably, becoming an unbreakable steel cable. Isabella found herself leaning more and more on Alessio, relying on his formidable strength, his unwavering determination, his absolute will. She saw past the manipulator, past the ruthless boss, to the man who fiercely cherished and protected her, who saw her as his queen, his partner, his everything, his very heart. And Alessio, in turn, saw her not just as a brilliant architect, but as a resilient, courageous woman who could not only withstand the brutal realities of his world, but who could stand by his side through any storm, through any bloodshed, through any challenge. Unyielding. One evening, after the last of the purists had been neutralized, leaving a chilling silence in their wake, a profound stillness that resonated with death, Alessio found Isabella in her office, working late, her face pale but resolute. He walked over, gently taking the pen from her hand, his touch soft yet firm. He pulled her into his arms, his golden eyes gazing into hers with a profound tenderness that always surprised her, a warmth that melted her defenses. "No more threats, my love," he whispered, his voice low, a deep rumble that vibrated through her, filled with absolute certainty. "No one will touch you again. I promise you that. My world, our empire, is now yours, completely. And you, Isabella, you are mine. Forever. My queen, my life, my destiny." His lips descended upon hers, a deep, passionate, all-consuming kiss that sealed their bond, acknowledging the terrifying yet undeniable love that had blossomed amidst the danger, the deceit, and the bloodshed. Isabella, once the kidnapped wrong girl, now knew, with a certainty that transcended fear, that she was exactly where she was meant to be, irrevocably claimed by the Mafia boss who refused to let her go and who, in turn, had become her protector, her partner, and the very heart of her existence. The golden cage had transformed into a formidable fortress, and she, its queen, was ready to face any challenge for him and for the empire they were building together. An empire forged in fire and bound by an unbreakable love. Chapter 5: Unraveling the True Target. The bitter truth revealed. The swift and decisive defeat of the purists solidified Alessio Volkov's unassailable position as the undisputed king of Chicago's underworld, silencing all internal dissent and sending a chilling, unequivocal message to any who dare challenge his authority or, more importantly, threaten Isabella. The city, under their joint influence, experienced an unprecedented era of economic growth and profound stability, blurring the lines between legitimate enterprise and organized power with a sophistication never before seen. Isabella's reputation as a visionary architect and astute businesswoman soared, her projects becoming iconic landmarks, weaving her innovative designs into the very fabric of Chicago's identity. She was widely seen as the elegant, brilliant mind complementing Alessio's formidable, yet increasingly discreet power, a true power couple who wielded influence across all strata of society. Their love, tempered by the crucible of shared danger and strengthened by a profound, unwavering shared purpose, had deepened into an unbreakable, all-consuming bond. Alessio's devotion to Isabella was absolute, his possessiveness now intertwined with a profound tenderness, an almost paternal protectiveness, and an undeniable respect for her intellect and spirit. He listened to her counsel, valued her opinions on matters of state and business with meticulous attention, and visibly softened in her presence, revealing a vulnerability he showed to no other soul. Isabella, in turn, found in him not just a formidable protector but a passionate lover, an intellectual equal, and a partner who consistently pushed her to achieve heights she never knew were possible, unlocking potentials she hadn't dared to dream of. The initial resentment of her initial brutal captivity had long since faded, replaced by a fierce, unyielding loyalty and an undeniable, consuming love that defied all logic, all circumstance. Yet, despite the peace, prosperity, and profound love that now defined her existence, a nagging, persistent question continued to prick at Isabella's meticulously analytical mind: Sophia Moretti, the woman she was so uncannily mistaken for, the intended target of Alessio's initial, brutal abduction. Isabella had seen her photograph, noted the disturbing, uncanny resemblance, but she couldn't shake the unsettling feeling that there was far more to the story than a simple, tragic case of mistaken identity. Alessio had been so certain of Sophia's presence in that dimly lit Tribeca alley, so meticulously precise in his planning, his operations. How could his highly efficient, utterly ruthless men, trained to such perfection, have made such a fundamental, potentially catastrophic error? It gnawed at her, a tiny, persistent worm of doubt. One evening, as they relaxed in the comfortable intimacy of the private study, Alessio engrossed in a complex financial report and Isabella sketching new architectural designs. For a sprawling urban park, she finally voiced her long-held doubt, the question that had plagued her for months. "Alessio," she began, her voice soft, tentative, yet firm. "I know you've told me I was simply the wrong girl. A tragic mistake your men made in the chaos of the night. But I can't shake the feeling you are too precise, too meticulous, too calculating for such a fundamental error to occur without reason. Tell me the truth, Alessio. The complete truth. Why did you really want Sofia Moretti? And why was I truly there that night in her place?" Alessio slowly lowered his report, his golden eyes meeting hers across the room. A flicker of something unreadable, a complex mixture of caution and ultimate honesty. In their depths, the comfortable intimacy of the room suddenly felt charged with a different kind of tension, a heavy anticipation. He paused for a long, profound moment, carefully choosing his words, weighing their immense impact. "You are right, Isabella," he finally conceded, his voice low. A controlled rumble that resonated with deep meaning. "My men do not make such mistakes lightly, especially not in a mission of that immense importance with such high stakes." The initial target was indeed Sofia Moretti. She was a valuable pawn, yes, but more importantly, she was a direct, personal lever in a deep, personal vendetta I had against her father, Adrian. A way to destabilize him, to force his hand, to avenge a past transgression, a profound injustice. Isabella's heart began to pound against her ribs, a frantic drumbeat of apprehension, a premonition of darker truths. "So you did intend to kidnap her, to use her against her father. But why was I there then? Why was the resemblance so striking, so perfect?" Alessio slowly rose from his deep leather armchair, walking to the panoramic window. His back to her, his powerful posture radiating a sudden, profound gravity, a somber weight. The resemblance, Isabella, was not a coincidence. It was, in fact, meticulously orchestrated. Your father, Mikhail Petrova, had a hidden sister, Sofia's mother, who bore an uncanny, almost identical resemblance to you. Your own mother was also distantly related to Sofia's mother, a second cousin. A complex intertwining of old bloodlines. The Moretti family and your family, the Petros, were once distantly yet inextricably connected. A complex web of old allegiances and betrayals that intertwined decades ago, before your time. Isabella gasped, her mind reeling, trying to process this bewildering, shocking revelation. Her father had a hidden sister? A direct, hidden connection to the Moretti family, the very family Alessio had destroyed? This was a labyrinth of deceit, a tangled web of family secrets she never knew existed. My father never spoke of a sister, or any direct connection to the Morettis, beyond Adrian being a mere business associate, a partner in his smuggling operations. Alessio turned, his golden eyes now holding a deep, unsettling intensity, a chilling clarity. Mikhail was a man of many, many secrets, Isabella. He hid his past, especially his familial ties to the Morettis, for profound reasons of protection. To shield you from the ugliness, the brutal realities of our world. He knew the depths of their treachery, the merciless nature of their ambition. Sofia's mother, his beloved sister, was indeed taken by Adrian Moretti. Forced into a brutal marriage, abused, and eventually murdered. Your father never forgave them. He was secretly gathering information against Adrian for decades. Slowly building a devastating case, a revenge plan of his own, a legacy of retribution. He knew Sofia, his niece, would inevitably be a pawn in her father's cruel games. And he wanted to protect her too, in his own way, to offer her an escape. But what does that have to do with me? Isabella asked, her voice trembling. A cold dread creeping into her heart, a profound sense of foreboding. Why was I in that alley that night, in Sofia's place, at that exact moment? Why me? Alessio took a slow, deliberate step towards her, his gaze unwavering, his confession absolute. Sofia Moretti, the intended target, the actual daughter of Adrian, had been compromised. She was secretly working with Adrian's rivals, seeking to escape her father's control, attempting to carve out her own destiny. She was no longer a viable, pristine target for my strategy against Adrian. Kidnapping her would have given Adrian a pretext to retaliate against my empire, claiming I was interfering with his family, causing an all-out, messy war. I needed a target that would truly hurt Adrian, truly destabilize him and serve as a powerful, undeniable symbol. And then, Isabella, I saw you. In Mikhail's meticulously compiled ledger among his family secrets, Isabella felt a profound, horrifying realization wash over her, a wave of cold, bitter truth that left her breathless, utterly exposed. You mean it wasn't a mistake at all, was it? Your men were specifically looking for someone who resembled Sophia. Someone who could be mistaken for her to send a devastating message. And you knew I existed. You knew about my uncanny resemblance. You knew I was Mikhail Petrova's daughter with his hidden, tragic connection to the Moretis. You orchestrated my abduction, Alessio. You hunted me down. Alessio nodded slowly, his expression grim, devoid of any softening, any apology, only a cold, hard, unyielding truth. Yes, Isabella. It was no accident. The information about your existence, your striking resemblance to Sophia, your father's hidden connection to the Moretis, it all came to me through Mikhail's own hidden ledger, the very one you helped me decipher. He had included a detailed family tree, a warning about his sister's forced marriage, and a chilling note about a distant niece, you, Isabella Rossi, a brilliant architect, a symbol of purity, unconnected to the underworld, a perfect, unexpected lever. When Sophia became unusable, your name emerged as the perfect, most potent alternative. Kidnapping Sophia Moretti, an innocent, unconnected relative, to disrupt Adrian, while simultaneously claiming a valuable asset you for myself. It was the ultimate gambit. You were the real target all along, Isabella. The perfect weapon against Adrian and the perfect queen for my empire. My greatest prize. Isabella stared at him, her world crumbling for the second time, but this time, the betrayal was far more profound, far more insidious, far more soul-crushing. He hadn't just used her grief, he had used her very identity, her family history, her unwitting resemblance to further his own brutal agenda. The man she had come to respect, to admire, to even love with a dangerous passion had meticulously, coldly orchestrated her entire nightmare from the moment her father disappeared to her abduction. She was not a beautiful mistake, she was a calculated, deliberate pawn, the ultimate target in his ruthless pursuit of power. The golden cage had just revealed its true, horrifying nature, a trap built not by chance, but by a master manipulator who had claimed her long before she ever set foot in his world. Her love for him, terrifyingly, had blossomed in the very heart of his deceit. The raw, unforgivable truth was now laid bare, leaving her shattered, yet inextricably bound. Chapter 6: The Unraveling and the Chilling Embrace of Destiny. The truth, raw and brutal, hung in the opulent air of Alessio's study, a crushing, suffocating weight that stole Isabella's breath and shattered every carefully constructed defense she had painstakingly built around her heart. It wasn't just a simple case of mistaken identity, it was a deliberate, calculated abduction, meticulously planned and executed by the man she had come to not only respect but, against all odds, to love with a dangerous, consuming passion. The disparate pieces clicked into place with horrifying clarity. Her father's mysterious disappearance, the subsequent desperation that drove her to seek work, her uncanny resemblance to Sophia Moretti, the chilling coincidence of her being in that Tribeca alley at that exact moment. All carefully orchestrated, choreographed by Alessio Volkov. She was not a beautiful mistake, she was the ultimate prize, the perfect weapon, the final, indispensable piece in his grand, deadly design, an unwitting pawn who had become a queen. You knew, Isabella whispered, her voice barely audible, choked with emotion, a profound tremor running through her very being. Her eyes, usually so vibrant, so full of life, were now wide with a mixture of horror, searing pain, and a chilling sense of betrayal that eclipsed even the initial shock of her captivity. You knew about my father's hidden sister, about Sophia's mother. You knew about the distant bloodline, the tragic intertwining of our families, about my resemblance. You orchestrated everything from the beginning, Alessio. You saw me, a grieving daughter, a desperate journalist, and you thought, perfect. You played me like a puppet, pulling my strings, guiding my every move. Alessio stood before her, his powerful frame unmoving, his expression grim, devoid of the charming veneer he often displayed to the world, revealing the cold, hard man beneath. His golden eyes, usually so captivating, now held a cold, unwavering resolve. A brutal honesty that offered no comfort, no apology, only a stark, unyielding truth. I saw an opportunity, Isabella. An unparalleled, strategic one. Adrian Moretti was a snake, a venomous threat to my dominion. A man who betrayed your father and relentlessly sought to undermine my power, to destroy my order. I needed a decisive blow. A strategy that would cripple him irrevocably without resorting to a messy, public war that would draw unwanted attention, that would destabilize the city. He paused, his gaze softening almost imperceptibly, a chilling paradox that only intensified her confusion, her turmoil. You were that opportunity. A brilliant mind, a woman with a legitimate connection to Mikhail Petrova's formidable legacy, and a striking resemblance to the pawn I needed to replace. You were the ultimate strategic piece on my chessboard, Isabella. The perfect choice. A piece, Isabella scoffed, a bitter, hollow laugh escaping her lips, devoid of any genuine humor. Is that all I am to you? A piece in your game? All your praise, your admiration, your affection. Was it all a lie? Another calculated move, another deception to secure your prize? Alessio took a slow, deliberate step towards her, his powerful hand reaching out. But Isabella flinched, instinctively recoiling, shrinking away from his touch. His hand dropped, a flicker of something unreadable, perhaps pain, perhaps frustration, perhaps even a fleeting regret in his golden eyes. No, Isabella. Not a lie. Not entirely. The initial plan was, as I confessed, purely strategic, cold and calculating. To use you to get what I wanted, to neutralize Moretti, to absorb your father's hidden assets. To consolidate my power. His voice was low, laced with a raw intensity. A desperate plea for understanding. But then you surprised me. Your intelligence, your resilience, your unyielding spirit, your fire. The passion you brought to my vision, to our projects. The way you challenged me, pushed me, made me see beyond the brutal necessities of my world. Made me question my own cynicism. The admiration, the respect, the desire, it became undeniably real. You became more than a piece, more than a target, more than an asset. You became essential. My equal. My empress. My love. My very reason. Isabella stared at him, her mind reeling, struggling desperately to reconcile the cold, calculating puppet master who had orchestrated her nightmare with the man who had shown her tenderness, who had admired her work, who now professed a dangerous, all-consuming love. The cognitive dissonance was agonizing, tearing her apart. The man who had stolen her freedom, orchestrated her nightmare, was also the man who had awakened her true potential, who had ignited a passion she never knew existed, who had claimed her heart despite her every defense, despite her every rational objection. It was a terrifying, intoxicating paradox, a love born from deceit, yet undeniably real. You expect me to believe that, she whispered, her voice trembling with the immense effort to control her tumultuous emotions, to hold back the storm raging within. That your love for me blossomed from an act of calculated manipulation? That I am now your empress instead of your prisoner because you decided to keep me? Because I became convenient? Alessio's gaze was unyielding, filled with a deep, unsettling possessiveness, a powerful certainty that brooked no argument. Believe what you will, Isabella, but the truth remains, you are here. You are safe, utterly secure within my protection. You are powerful, wielding influence in ways you never thought possible. And you are mine. Our destinies are now irrevocably intertwined, bound by more than just deceit. I refuse to let you go. Not now. Not ever. And I will protect what is mine, with every fiber of my being, with my very life, if necessary. He took another step, closing the distance between them, his powerful body radiating heat, his voice dropping to a low, dangerous growl that resonated deep within her soul. You may resent the beginning, you may curse the circumstances that brought us together, but you cannot deny what we have become. What you have become. We are a force, Isabella. Together, we are unstoppable. Our future, our legacy, begins now, built on our shared power, our shared ambition, and our undeniable love. Isabella stood frozen, caught inextricably in the web of his powerful words. His overwhelming presence, his undeniable, raw magnetism, the sheer audacity of his confession, the blatant admission of his meticulous manipulation, was staggering, breathtaking in its cold honesty. Yet, beneath the surging anger, beneath the lingering pain of betrayal, a cold, hard truth began to assert itself, chillingly, undeniably. She was here. She was safe, more secure than she had ever been, protected by a force that could crush nations. She was building an empire, shaping a city, achieving architectural dreams she never thought possible. And, terrifyingly, undeniably, she loved him. She hated him for what he had done, for the ruthless way he had woven her into his tapestry. But she loved the man he had become with her, the partner who saw her brilliance, who nurtured her ambition, who cherished her above all else. The golden cage had revealed its true, complex nature, a trap built to ensnare her. But a trap that had inadvertently become her home, her kingdom, her destiny. Her freedom had been stolen, violently, undeniably, but in its place, she had found profound purpose, exhilarating power, and a dangerous, undeniable love that burned brightly, fiercely. She was still his prisoner, bound by a chain of gold, but now, the links were also forged from an unbreakable bond of shared ambition, profound respect, and a love that transcended the dark, treacherous origins of their union. She was the wrong girl, kidnapped by mistake, but in Alessio Volkov's world, she was exactly where she belonged, his queen, his partner, his untouchable legacy. The unraveling of the truth had not broken her, it had, in a twisted, horrifying way, cemented her destiny, irrevocably binding her to the Mafia boss who refused to let her go, and whom she, now, refused to leave. Chapter 7: Seeds of Discontent and a Shadow from the Past, Deeper Roots. The undisputed reign of Alessio and Isabella Volkov, firmly established and seemingly unshakable, saw the sprawling metropolis of Chicago flourish under a new, sophisticated, and terrifyingly efficient brand of organized crime, meticulously integrated with legitimate enterprise. Their burgeoning empire, a sprawling, multifaceted entity spanning continents, expanded relentlessly, reaching into every corner of global markets, legitimizing vast sums of illicit wealth, and creating a formidable, almost impenetrable facade of untouchable corporate power. Isabella, with her razor-sharp intellect, her meticulous planning, and her undeniable, captivating charisma, was universally lauded in legitimate business circles as a visionary, the brilliant architectural mind behind Volkov Industries' staggering growth and diversified portfolio. Alessio, the silent, formidable force behind her, the immovable pillar of strength and unyielding authority, commanded respect and primal fear in equal measure. His very presence alone enough to quell any nascent dissent or open challenge. Together, they were an unstoppable force, a power couple whose influence spanned glittering boardrooms and shadowed back alleys. Their reach absolute, their control unparalleled, their ambition boundless. However, even in this era of unprecedented success and absolute dominion, absolute power rarely goes unchallenged, and the very nature of their extraordinary triumph began to sow insidious, festering seeds of discontent within the deeper, more traditional strata of the underworld. While many, particularly the younger, more pragmatic factions, thrived and prospered under Alessio's stable, remarkably profitable rule, some of the older, more entrenched families, clinging desperately to ancient codes and brutal traditions, grew profoundly uneasy with the Volkovs' unconventional, modern methods. The Volkovs' increasing reliance on legal maneuverings, sophisticated economic warfare, and subtle political influence, rather than the raw, visceral display of brute force, public executions, and open bloodshed, was viewed by these traditionalists as a profound sign of weakness, a shameful abandonment of sacred, old-world codes. Whispers, insidious and venomous, began to spread like a contagion through the underworld grapevine, whispers of Alessio becoming soft, of him being unduly influenced by his outsider wife, a woman who had once been a common architect, of their empire becoming too transparent, too exposed to the prying, dangerous eyes of the law, a ticking time bomb. These whispers were not random, they were carefully cultivated, strategically amplified, and expertly disseminated by a shadowy figure who had subtly begun to emerge from the deepest, darkest recesses of the underworld, moving with phantom-like stealth through the fringes of their vast, interconnected network. His name was Dante Moretti, Adrian Moretti's younger, more cunning, and infinitely more patient cousin. Dante had miraculously managed to escape the devastating purge that had dismantled his family, and had spent years in forced exile, biding his time, meticulously observing, carefully cultivating a network of disgruntled traditionalists, ambitious opportunists, and disillusioned former allies who deeply resented Volkov's unprecedented dominance. He was patient to a fault, intelligent and driven by a burning, all-consuming desire for vengeance. A thirst for retribution for the utter destruction of his family. For the profound humiliation they had endured at Alessio's hands. He knew Alessio's methods now, he had studied his every move, and he had learned to adapt. To counter, to strike where it hurt most. Dante didn't engage in direct, overt confrontation, he was far too shrewd, too cautious for that. Having learned from his cousin Adrian's fatal, impulsive mistakes. Instead, he initiated a sophisticated, multi-layered campaign of subtle sabotage, meticulously targeting the very legitimate businesses Isabella had worked so tirelessly to build and integrate into the Volkov empire, the visible pillars of their modern power. Factories experienced unexplained yet devastating equipment failures that halted production for weeks, costing millions in lost revenue and tarnishing their reputation for efficiency. Crucial, time-sensitive supply chains were mysteriously disrupted, causing massive financial losses and chaos in their global operations. Key personnel, vital to their intricate operations, were systematically lured away with tantalizing, often anonymous offers from shell companies that vanished as quickly as they appeared, leaving no trace. And most insidiously, negative rumors, meticulously crafted and utterly damaging, were strategically leaked to influential financial news outlets, causing minor, yet persistent, dips in stock prices and eroding investor confidence, subtly chipping away at their carefully constructed image of invincibility. Each incident, though seemingly small and isolated on its own, subtly yet relentlessly chipped away at the carefully constructed image of invincibility Isabella and Alessio had painstakingly cultivated. The cumulative effect was a slow erosion, a constant pressure on their resources, their reputation, and their internal unity. Isabella, ever vigilant, her analytical mind sharper than ever, was the first to notice the subtle, yet undeniable pattern, the insidious coordination behind these seemingly random setbacks. She meticulously tracked the anomalies, cross-referenced the data from disparate sources, and soon discovered the common, chilling thread: Dante Moretti. His methods were more sophisticated, more insidious than his cousins, operating in the elusive gray areas between legality and outright crime, making him incredibly difficult to pin down. He was a ghost, leaving barely a trace, yet his influence was palpable, his presence undeniable, his malice keenly felt. "He's not just attacking our operations, Alessio," Isabella stated one morning, her voice tight with frustration, a flicker of cold fury in her eyes, as she spread out a series of detailed reports, charts and graphs across his massive, polished desk. Her finger traced a complex pattern of linked incidents, a chilling web of sabotage. "He's attacking our reputation, our stability, our very legitimacy. He's trying to prove that our legitimate empire is nothing more than a house of cards, easily toppled by a clever hand, by a man who understands how to play the old game. He's trying to turn the old guard against us, to sow doubt among our allies, to fracture our unity from within, to make us look weak." Alessio's golden eyes gleamed with a cold fury, a dangerous, primal light that Isabella recognized well, a silent promise of impending, brutal retribution. Dante Moretti, a cockroach from a decaying family, one I thought we had thoroughly exterminated, cleansed from this city. He has crawled out from under a rock, emboldened by the shadows and by the whispers of the disgruntled. He slammed his fist lightly on the polished mahogany table, the sound echoing in the opulent office, a subtle tremor of his immense, barely contained power. "He seeks to exploit what he perceives as our weakness, our reliance on legitimate enterprise, on clean business, on the illusion of respectability. He wants to drag us back into the shadows, into the brutal, open warfare of the past. A war he believes he can win against our soft approach." Isabella shook her head, her expression resolute, her eyes firm, unyielding. "No, he's smarter than that, Alessio. He knows he can't win a direct, all-out war against you, not anymore. He's learned from Adrian's fatal mistakes. He's playing a different game, a psychological war, an economic war, a war of attrition. He's trying to isolate us, to erode our power base subtly, to make us bleed slowly, to make us question ourselves, our methods, our very foundation." She paused, her gaze meeting his, a fierce determination in her eyes, burning bright with unwavering resolve. "We need to respond, Alessio. Not with brute force, not with overt violence that would justify his narrative, but with a strategy that unequivocally demonstrates the overwhelming, unassailable strength of our new empire. That proves our sophisticated, modern methods are superior, ultimately impregnable. We must make him regret he ever came back, that he ever dared to challenge us. The emergence of Dante Moretti, a chilling ghost from the past, an unexpected, vengeful survivor fueled by hatred, cast a long, ominous shadow over their meticulously built future, threatening to unravel everything. It was a potent reminder that even in victory, vigilance was eternal, and that the past had a way of resurfacing with renewed venom, with unforeseen challenges that demanded new solutions. This new threat, more intellectual and insidious than any they had faced, would test not just their strategic brilliance but the very foundations of their power, the strength of their combined empire and the unwavering strength of their profound bond. Isabella knew that this was more than just a battle for dominance. It was a battle for the very soul of their empire, a fight to prove that their sophisticated, legitimate approach, their carefully cultivated image, could withstand the brutal, old-world tactics of vengeance and traditionalism. The Golden Cage, their magnificent fortress, was once again under threat, but this time, Isabella was no longer just an unwitting target, she was an active, formidable participant. A queen ready to defend her home, her husband, and the untouchable dynasty they were painstakingly building together. Her resolve was absolute, her fear now replaced by an unyielding determination to crush this new threat completely. Chapter 8: The Shadow Gambit and a Dangerous Alliance for the Future. Dante Moretti's campaign of subtle sabotage, while meticulously planned and executed with insidious precision, proved to be more irritating and profoundly dangerous in its cumulative effect than any outright catastrophic strike. He wasn't aiming for a swift, decisive overthrow of Alessio's empire, he was aiming for a slow, agonizing bleed, hoping to destabilize Alessio's intricate balance of power and sow deep, irreparable seeds of discord among his allies, creating dangerous, widening cracks in the foundation of their unity. Isabella, with her growing, almost intuitive understanding of their vast, interconnected network, spent countless, sleepless hours dissecting Dante's tactics, anticipating his next move, and implementing precise, effective countermeasures that often required her to work far into the night. Fueled by coffee and sheer determination, she became a true master of corporate defense, surgically isolating the compromised sectors, strengthening their legitimate fronts against both legal and financial attacks, and skillfully manipulating market perceptions and public opinion to counter Dante's insidious rumors, effectively turning the tide of public and financial sentiment against him. The internal whispers among the older, more conservative factions within Alessio's orbit intensified, becoming more pronounced, more vocal, bordering on open dissent in private meetings. Some of Alessio's lieutenants, loyal but steeped in traditional methods and old-world thinking, expressed quiet but persistent concern that their increasing focus on legitimate businesses and Isabella's soft, unconventional tactics were diverting crucial resources from traditional enforcement, leaving them vulnerable to direct, old-school attacks. Alessio, ever pragmatic, ever watchful, understood these fears, recognizing their validity within the old paradigm, a system he was actively working to transcend. However, his trust in Isabella remained unwavering, absolute, built on a solid foundation of shared trials, profound triumphs, and an intimate understanding of her capabilities. He saw her strategies not as weakness but as the ultimate strength, a revolutionary way to render their enemies obsolete, to dismantle them completely, without resorting to the brutal bloodshed that invited unwanted, relentless attention from law enforcement, and ultimately destabilized their carefully cultivated public image. One evening, after successfully thwarting a major, intricate attempt by Dante to cripple their global logistics network through a complex, multi-layered cyber attack, Isabella found herself utterly exhausted but profoundly exhilarated, buzzing with a quiet, hard-won triumph. She brought a stack of encrypted reports to Alessio in his study, her eyes bright with a sense of accomplishment, a flicker of fierce pride that shone through her fatigue. "We traced the attack back to a server farm in Eastern Europe, Alessio," she reported, her voice clear and precise despite her profound fatigue. It's a hub for various dark web operations, including mercenary groups and high-level data brokers. Moretti isn't just relying on his own diminished resources, he's paying for their advanced services, reaching out to shadows beyond our immediate grasp, leveraging international criminal networks to fund his war against us. Alessio listened intently, his golden eyes scanning the dense, complex data, a thoughtful, calculating expression on his face. So, he's desperate enough to ally with outside forces, to hire foreign muscle, to sacrifice his independence for vengeance. That makes him more dangerous, certainly, as he's less predictable but also more vulnerable. External groups have no true loyalty, Anya, only a price. They can be bought or turned. They can be broken and their allegiance is shifted. He paused, his gaze meeting hers. A subtle flicker of deep admiration in his eyes, a silent acknowledgement of her brilliance. You've done remarkable work, Isabella. Your intellect, your understanding of these new battlegrounds, cyber warfare, information warfare, economic manipulation, it's unparalleled. You truly are the empress of this empire in every sense, shaping its very future, guiding its evolution into something untouchable. Isabella felt a blush creep up her neck, a warmth spreading through her at his sincere, heartfelt praise, a comfort she now cherished. Despite the manipulation that had initially brought them together, the profound respect and undeniable admiration in his eyes were undeniably real and deeply comforting, healing old wounds, reinforcing their bond in an undeniable way. We need to hit him where it truly hurts, Alessio. Not just defend. We need to cut off his funding, expose his allies, dismantle his entire support structure, isolate him completely. We need to go on the offensive, but subtly, strategically, using his own methods against him. Alessio nodded slowly, a grim determination hardening his features. Indeed. But we need an edge, something that will cripple him definitively, without compromising our own legitimate operations, without drawing unwanted attention to our core business, and perhaps a little outside assistance of our own, a counter-alliance forged in the shadows. To fight fire with fire, but with our own rules, our own loyalties. The next few weeks saw Alessio making a series of discreet, highly sensitive trips, traveling to clandestine meetings in distant cities, leaving Isabella to manage the daily, complex operations of the empire, a testament to his absolute trust in her capabilities, in her unwavering loyalty and profound understanding of their world. He met with old contacts, obscure figures from his past, powerful individuals whose loyalty was not bought with money but with ancient favors, strategic alliances, and unspoken obligations forged in a time before his empire, a time when he was just starting out. He was carefully constructing his own counter-alliance, a shadow gambit designed to isolate and eliminate Dante Moretti without ever directly engaging him in the brutal, chaotic street war that Dante so desperately sought to ignite. A war Alessio was determined to avoid at all costs. During Alessio's intense, demanding absence, Isabella faced her own profound challenge, an unexpected connection to her lost past, a ghost returning to offer aid. Mikhail Petrova, her father, in a rare, prolonged moment of profound lucidity, his eyes momentarily clearing from the fog of his trauma, began to speak more coherent sentences, his mind occasionally piercing through the haze of his suffering. He spoke of old codes, of forgotten safe houses, of a secret network he had painstakingly built decades ago, an intricate web of informants and hidden caches of damning information, all designed to protect himself from betrayal. From precisely the kind of treachery Adrian Moretti had orchestrated. It was a network Alessio hadn't known about, a final, hidden layer of Mikhail's cunning. A desperate failsafe he had prepared for his own ultimate protection, but which now, unexpectedly, could serve Isabella. The old man, he was always paranoid, always prepared for the worst, Mikhail mumbled one afternoon, his eyes momentarily clear, a flicker of his old, cunning self returning. Always had a plan B for every plan A. Especially for Moretti. He never trusted him, said he was a viper, a snake in the grass, utterly untrustworthy. Always looking for an angle to exploit. He then gave Isabella a series of cryptic clues. Names of people and places, fragments of information that seemed nonsensical at first, like pieces of a broken, forgotten puzzle, but which Isabella knew held immense significance. Isabella, recognizing the profound potential significance, meticulously recorded every word, every fragmented memory, every subtle gesture. She spent sleepless nights deciphering the clues, cross-referencing them with her own extensive data, piecing together the broken fragments. And slowly, painstakingly, a new, chilling picture began to emerge. Her father had indeed prepared for betrayal, setting up a failsafe, a final, devastating counter-move against Moretti. It was a network designed to expose Moretti's deepest secrets, his most protected assets, his hidden vulnerabilities, to anyone who could decipher it. It was a legacy of information, a final, powerful act of vengeance from beyond the grave, a final act of protection for his daughter. When Alessio finally returned, a new, dangerous intensity in his eyes, his shadow alliance solidified, ready to move. He was ready to unleash his decisive counterstrike. Isabella, in turn, presented him with her father's profound revelations, the deciphered clues, the meticulously mapped blueprint to Moretti's hidden vulnerabilities. The combined intelligence, the confluence of their individual strengths, was devastatingly comprehensive, utterly damning, leaving Dante with no conceivable escape. Alessio had his powerful counter-alliance, and Isabella had provided the precise targets, the specific weaknesses that would bring Dante Moretti's desperate campaign to a swift, humiliating, and permanent end, erasing him from the face of the underworld. Mikhail's last gift, Alessio mused. Looking at the complex web of information Isabella had laid out, a precise, undeniable map to Moretti's destruction. A final act of profound vengeance from a ghost, timed perfectly. This changes everything, my love. This ensures a clean sweep, a definitive victory that leaves no doubt. Dante Moretti will not only be defeated, but his entire bloodline, his entire legacy of treachery, will be erased from the records, both legitimate and otherwise. Forever forgotten, he pulled Isabella into a fierce embrace, kissing her deeply, his lips tasting of triumph and profound gratitude, a mixture of shared victory and undeniable love. You are truly extraordinary, Isabella. Together, we are unstoppable, unassailable. Our empire will stand unshaken for generations, a testament to our combined strength, to our unbreakable bond. The stage was now perfectly set for the final, decisive confrontation with Dante Moretti. A battle not of brute force, not of chaotic street violence, but of intelligence, strategy, and the unraveling of ancient secrets and meticulously hidden truths. Isabella, once a mere pawn, now an indispensable architect of this grand design, realized that her turbulent journey into the underworld had indeed led her to justice for her father. But it had also forged her into a woman of immense, undeniable power, intertwined with the destiny of the most dangerous man in Chicago. The golden cage had become a war room, and she, the queen, was ready for battle, ready to secure their legacy once and for all, with unwavering resolve and a fierce determination that matched Alessio's own. Chapter 9: The Reckoning and a New Dawn for a Legacy Forged in Fire. The combined forces of Alessio's meticulously crafted Shadow Alliance and Isabella's brilliantly deciphered intelligence struck Dante Moretti's network with surgical precision and overwhelming, coordinated force. It was not a violent street war, not a chaotic display of brute force, but a multi-pronged assault that simultaneously crippled his financial assets, exposed his key allies to relentless federal and international law enforcement scrutiny, and dismantled his covert operations with breathtaking, silent efficiency. Factories, once sabotaged and brought to a standstill, were now swiftly recovered, fortified with enhanced security, and their production pipelines optimized under Isabella's watchful eye. Crucial supply chains, once mysteriously disrupted, were now secured and diversified, impervious to future attacks, strengthening the entire Volkov logistical network. Shell companies, once used to lure away vital personnel and siphon funds, were now fully exposed as fronts for money laundering and illicit activities, leading to high-profile arrests, asset freezing, and massive confiscation of funds that further crippled Dante Moretti, caught utterly off guard by the sheer sophistication, the overwhelming scale, and the multi-layered nature of the Volkov's counterattack, found his resources evaporating with alarming speed, his carefully cultivated allies abandoning him in droves, and his reputation, once a source of quiet power and menace, utterly in tatters. He was stripped bare, left with nothing but his burning, impotent vengeance and a dwindling number of increasingly desperate, disillusioned loyalists who saw the writing on the wall. In a final, desperate act of defiance, a last gasp of his fading power, he attempted to strike at the very heart of Alessio's legitimate empire, a massive, coordinated cyber attack targeting Volkov Industries' central servers, aiming to paralyze their global operations and expose their more sensitive, potentially compromising data to the world. Isabella, anticipating precisely such a desperate move based on her deep understanding of Dante's character and his spiraling desperation, had already put in place a series of advanced, cutting-edge digital defenses meticulously designed by her team of cybersecurity experts. When the attack came, a highly skilled team of cybersecurity specialists, handpicked and managed by Isabella, swiftly neutralized it, tracing the origin back to a remote, heavily encrypted server farm in the Ukraine, a known hub for international cyber mercenaries who quickly severed ties with Dante. When their payment stopped, it was a spectacular, humiliating failure for Dante, a resounding defeat that exposed his technical ineptitude and his foolhardy reliance on untrustworthy outside mercenaries who had quickly abandoned him. When their contract and his funds ceased, Alessio, observing the seamless defense, the flawless execution of Isabella's brilliant counter-strategy from his secure command center, a room bristling with technology, felt a surge of immense, profound pride. He knew then, without a shadow of a doubt, that he had truly found his equal, his indispensable partner, his queen, a woman who could fight and win on every conceivable battleground. He walked over to Isabella, who was still intensely focused on the screen, confirming the complete neutralization of the cyber attack, her fingers flying across the keyboard with a dancer's grace, her mind a whirlwind of information. He gently placed his hand on her shoulder, his touch grounding her, anchoring her in the moment of their shared triumph, a powerful silent reassurance. "It's over, Isabella," he said, his voice low, a mix of finality, triumph, and profound satisfaction. "Dante Moretti is finished. His network is dismantled, his resources seized, his reputation utterly destroyed. He is a ghost, with nowhere left to run, nowhere left to hide. He will never threaten us again. Never." Isabella slowly turned, her eyes meeting his. The exhaustion was etched on her beautiful face, the toll of countless sleepless nights. But there was also a profound sense of triumph, of closure, of justice finally served. He finally paid for his sins, Alessio. For what he did to Adrian and to my father. For trying to destroy everything we built, everything we represent, everything we stand for. Alessio pulled her into a tight embrace, holding her close, savoring the victory. Savoring her presence, her warmth against him, the scent of her hair filling his senses. "And he paid because of you, my love. Because of your brilliance, your foresight, your unwavering strength, your unyielding spirit. You are not just the empress of this empire, you are its protector, its defender, its very soul, its future. You are the architect of our untouchable legacy." The days that followed were a period of intense activity, yet also one of profound relief and quiet celebration that permeated every level of their organization. Dante Moretti, utterly defeated and abandoned by his former allies, was found several weeks later in a small, forgotten, squalid apartment in a remote European city. A broken man, stripped of all power, all influence, all hope, left to face a lonely, miserable end. A chilling symbol of the consequences of challenging the Volkovs. His final, humiliating end was a testament to the ruthless efficiency and overwhelming power of Alessio and Isabella's combined strategic brilliance. With Dante Moretti permanently neutralized, and the last remnants of his destructive influence eradicated, a profound sense of peace, a true, enduring stability settled over the Volkov Empire. The last vestiges of the old guard, of the traditional, brutal, violent underworld, had been definitively crushed, replaced by a new, sophisticated and utterly modern order. Alessio and Isabella now presided over an empire that was both formidable and surprisingly legitimate. A sprawling network of businesses that generated immense wealth and influence, allowing them to shape the city and indeed parts of the world in their image. To wield power from both the shadows and the light seamlessly, with unprecedented authority and unassailable control. Isabella found a profound sense of purpose and belonging in her multifaceted role. She not only brilliantly managed the vast legitimate businesses, expanding their global reach and diversification, but also established several influential philanthropic foundations, channeling a significant portion of their immense wealth into community development, education, and vital social programs. She subtly but powerfully reshaped the city from within, leaving a positive, enduring mark, transforming struggling neighborhoods and funding groundbreaking artistic endeavors. This was her way of creating a positive legacy, of balancing the inherent darkness of their origins with a genuine, heartfelt desire for societal betterment, building a future where their vast power could truly be a force for good, a testament to her vision and her unwavering moral compass. Alessia watched her with immense pride and a deep, possessive love that was absolute, unconditional. He understood that Isabella was not just building an empire, she was evolving it, refining it, bringing a moral compass and a visionary outlook that often surpassed his own, elevating their power to a new, respected level that transcended mere criminal dominion. He was the force, the unyielding power, the ultimate protector, the anchor. But she was the architect, the soul, the guiding light, the heart of their shared destiny, the true brain behind their operation. Their dynamic was perfected, a true partnership of equals, bound by an unwavering love and a shared, profound ambition. One sunny afternoon, as they sat in the meticulously landscaped gardens of the mansion, their young son, Leo, now a bright-eyed, inquisitive toddler, playing happily nearby under the watchful, discreet eyes of silent guards, Alessio took Isabella's hand, his gaze meeting hers, filled with a deep, profound tenderness and a boundless, eternal love. "Our empire is secure, Isabella," he said, his voice soft, almost a whisper, yet filled with a resonant certainty. "Our legacy is established, unshakable, and our future is limitless. All because of you, my love. Because you walked into my life, an architect seeking purpose. Unaware you were the real target all along. Unaware you were meant to be mine, to rule by my side, to complete me, to give my life true meaning." Isabella smiled, a genuine, radiant smile that reached her beautiful eyes, mirroring his love and reflecting the bright, promising future ahead. She looked at her son, then back at Alessio, her heart overflowing with love, contentment, and an undeniable sense of belonging that finally healed all the old wounds. The path had been perilous, fraught with deception and constant danger, but it had led her directly to him, to a love she never expected, to a power she never imagined, and to a family that was her true home, her ultimate sanctuary, her forever. She had been the wrong girl, kidnapped by mistake, yes, but in being claimed, she had also claimed a destiny far grander, far more fulfilling than she could have ever conceived. The golden cage had transformed into a beautiful, sprawling kingdom, and she, Isabella Volkov, was its queen, forever bound to her king, ready to embrace the new dawn they had forged together. A legacy built on fire, ambition, and an unbreakable love that would stand the test of time. An untouchable dynasty for generations to come. Chapter 10: The Untouchable Legacy and the Echoes of Eternity. Years unfurled like a rich, intricate tapestry woven with threads of power, prosperity, and an unbreakable love, transforming the very soul of New York City under the subtle, yet pervasive and undeniable influence of Alessio and Isabella Volkov. Their empire, a sprawling, intricate network of legitimate, global corporations seamlessly integrated with a meticulously managed core of illicit operations, was truly untouchable, a model of modern, sophisticated organized crime that commanded respect even from former adversaries. Volkov Industries became a global powerhouse, its legitimate ventures lauded in prestigious financial magazines for their innovation and ethical practices. Its philanthropic foundations praised universally for their impactful community development and vital social programs, subtly reshaping public perception and demonstrating a power beyond mere wealth or brute force. Yet, beneath this polished, benevolent exterior, Alessio's unwavering iron will and absolute authority ensured complete control. His network of fiercely loyal operatives working with quiet efficiency, maintaining order and extending their reach further than ever before, into territories once thought unbreachable. His word law. Isabella was no longer merely Alessio's invaluable partner, his trusted advisor, his confidant. She was a legend in her own right, her name whispered with a mixture of awe, profound respect, and a hint of fear in both glittering boardrooms and shadowed back alleys. Her architectural brilliance, honed by years of passion and Alessio's boundless resources, reshaped skylines in major cities. Her strategic insights often proved decisive in navigating complex international markets, intricate legal frameworks, and volatile geopolitical landscapes. She had cultivated a formidable reputation as a brilliant, elegant, and utterly ruthless businesswoman, a force to be reckoned with in any boardroom. Her intelligence sharper than any blade. In the underworld, she was revered as the Empress, a silent, formidable power behind the throne, whose intellect and influence were as profoundly feared as Alessio's raw, unyielding strength. Her word as binding as his own. She had found her true calling, a purpose that balanced the moral complexities of their world with an undeniable, burning drive to build, to protect, to create a lasting, meaningful legacy that would transcend their dark origins. Their son, young Leo, grew into a bright, exceptionally inquisitive child, his eyes reflecting the sharp intelligence and inner strength of both his parents. He was carefully shielded from the brutal realities of their empire, nurtured in an environment of safety and love, yet raised with a strong sense of responsibility, impeccable manners, and an innate, almost instinctive understanding of the immense power and privilege he would one day inherit. Anya and Alessio ensured he received the finest education the world could offer, surrounding him with exceptional tutors, inspiring mentors, and the quiet, unwavering protection of their formidable security detail, a discreet shadow always at his side, ensuring his absolute safety. He was the embodiment of their future, the living legacy of their unique, powerful union, the continuation of their dynasty, the hope for a new era. Mikhail Petrova, Isabella's father, eventually passed away peacefully in the quiet comfort of the mansion, surrounded by his daughter and son-in-law, his final years spent in a gentle tranquility, finally free from the torment of his past and the constant shadow of betrayal. In his last lucid moments, his eyes, momentarily clear and filled with a profound peace, he looked at Isabella, then at Alessio, a faint, knowing smile gracing his lips, a silent acknowledgement that his daughter had not just survived, but had thrived beyond his wildest dreams, fulfilling a destiny he could only dimly have foreseen. He had played his crucial part, albeit unknowingly, in bringing them together, in forging this untouchable empire, this enduring dynasty. The threats, though diminished, never truly vanished in their world, they merely adapted, becoming more subtle, more sophisticated. The realm of power was a constant, shifting battleground, demanding eternal vigilance, an unceasing awareness. But any whispers of discontent, any attempts at infiltration, sabotage, or outright rebellion, were swiftly and decisively crushed, often before they could even fully form. Alessio and Isabella operated as a perfectly synchronized unit, their combined strengths making them unassailable, an impenetrable force that moved with fluid grace and deadly precision. He was the shield, the sword, the unwavering force that struck fear into the hearts of their enemies. She was the mind, the strategist, the visionary, the architect of their future, the true brain behind their vast operation. Together, they anticipated every move, countered every attack, and ensured the absolute security and prosperity of their empire and their beloved family. One sunny afternoon, years after Leo's birth, as the family gathered for a quiet, intimate dinner in the mansion's elegantly appointed dining room, the soft glow of candlelight illuminating their faces, Leo, now a curious and intelligent young boy, turned to his mother. "Mama," he asked, his eyes wide with innocent wonder, a question that cut through the pleasantries. "What does Papa do, exactly? And what do you do?" Isabella smiled, exchanging a tender, knowing glance with Alessio across the table, a silent understanding passing between them. "Your Papa," she began, her voice soft but filled with immense pride and deep love. "He protects our family, Leo. He protects everything we have built, everything we cherish. He ensures order and stability in our city and in our world. He is a very powerful man who watches over us all like a king watches over his kingdom." Alessio, a rare, genuine smile gracing his lips, a warmth radiating from him that only Isabella could truly evoke, added, "And your mama, Leo. She helps me build our future. She helps me make everything grow stronger, better, more beautiful. She is the wisest, most brilliant woman I know, and without her, none of this, none of us, would be possible. She is the architect of our dreams. Leo listened intently, his young mind absorbing their words, then looked at his parents, his eyes reflecting a profound sense of security and belonging. A quiet understanding of the unique, formidable presence his parents wielded, the immense strength of their bond, the untouchable aura that enveloped their family. He saw not just wealth, but an unshakable foundation built on love and power. Later that night, as Alessio held Isabella close in their private, opulent suite, the city lights twinkling in the distance, a silent, glittering testament to their vast dominion, Isabella leaned her head against his powerful chest, listening to the steady, comforting beat of his heart. "I came here, Alessio," she murmured, her voice soft, contemplative. "An architect looking for purpose, convinced I was seeking a target. An enemy who had wronged my father. I was so utterly unaware that I was the real target all along, meticulously drawn into your world, into your life, into your heart." Alessio kissed her hair, his embrace fierce and tender, a powerful, protective cocoon that encompassed her entirely. "And I claimed you, Isabella. Not just for your intellect, not just for your father's legacy, but for the fierce, defiant, intelligent woman you were, the empress you were always destined to become. You were the missing piece, the heart of this empire, the soul of my life. And you have given me more than I could ever have imagined, more than I ever dared to hope for. A future beyond my wildest ambitions." Isabella smiled, her heart full, overflowing with a profound sense of peace and contentment. The path had been perilous, fraught with deception and constant danger. But it had led her directly to him, to a love she never expected, to a power she never imagined, and to a family that was her true home, her ultimate sanctuary, her forever. She had been the wrong girl, kidnapped by mistake, yes, but in being claimed, she had also claimed a destiny far grander, far more fulfilling than she could have ever conceived. The golden cage had transformed into a beautiful, sprawling kingdom, an empire forged in fire and bound by an unbreakable love. And she, Isabella Volkov, was its queen, forever bound to her king, ready to embrace the new dawn they had forged together, a legacy built on fire, ambition, and an unbreakable love that would stand the test of time. An untouchable dynasty for generations to come, echoing through eternity. If you've been gripped by Isabella and Alessio's story, don't forget to like this video and hit that subscribe button for more thrilling tales of love, loyalty, and danger.